Trusscore trims add the perfect finishing touch to any project by providing a functional and distinctive design element while bringing your project to life. Trusscore offers a comprehensive assortment of PVC trims to meet all your project needs. In this video, we'll show you when and where to use each trim and tips on how to install them. Installation basics. Before we dive into the trim options for your Trusscore project, let's review some installation tips and features that apply for all our trims. Cutting. Tin snips are the safest and easiest tool to use when cutting Snap-in J trim. It is recommended to measure and mark your cut lines on the fully assembled trim first, then disassemble and cut each piece separately using tin snips. Pro tip: for a cleaner cut, avoid closing the blades at the end of a stroke. A handheld circular saw or miter saw is recommended to cut all other trim pieces. With a saw, it is not necessary to disassemble the snap-in trims before cutting. Spacing. It is essential that a minimum of 1/4 of an inch clearance is left at the ends of all panels and trims to allow for expansion and contraction. Fastening. Like Trusscore panels, trims can be fastened to wood, metal, or concrete using readily available screws. The screws should have a minimum head diameter of 3/8 of an inch. Refer to our installation guide for more details. It is recommended to install screws for every 2 feet of trim being used. Color and length. All Trusscore trims are available in both white and gray and come in 10-foot lengths, except our SlatWall Top Cap, which is available in 8-foot lengths. Snap-in J trim. Snap-in J trim is our most versatile trim. It's used with multiple products and can be used in a variety of applications. Use Snap-in J trim for ceiling perimeter, top and bottom of walls, window and door perimeter, inside corners. Installing Snap-in J trim is easy. Align the universal base tight to the corner so the screw flange is pointing away from the adjacent wall, ceiling, floor, and openings such as windows and doors. Then fasten through the holes on the screw flange. Here's another pro tip. It is recommended to start with the ceiling when installing trim. After the universal base is affixed to the wall or ceiling, panels can be placed on top, and the teeth of the Snap-in J trim is aligned with the universal base and pressed together to finish the wall or ceiling. For inside corners or wall-to-ceiling transitions, 2 Snap-in J trims can be used. Simply follow the previous steps to complete the ceiling and each wall fully before moving to the next. An alternative method of using Snap-in J trim to finish inside corners of wall and ceilings would be to use 1 Snap-in J trim instead of 2. This method involves installing the Snap-in J trim on the inside corners of the walls or ceiling after the panels are installed. Start by installing panels for one wall or the ceiling to the end where you reach the corner. Align the universal base tight to the panel with the screw flange pointing away from the panel. Fasten the universal base to the wall or ceiling with screws through the punched screw flange. Place panels on top the universal base and continue installing along the wall or ceiling. When finished installing panels, align the teeth on the Snap-in J trim with the universal base and press together to finish the corner. If you have a 3-way corner intersection, such as an inside corner meeting the ceiling line, it is not recommended to miter the Snap-in J trims in this intersection. Simply install the Snap-in J trim as mentioned previously and butt each trim piece tightly into the others to finish the corner. Or consider incorporating a snap-in inside corner cove trim. For high moisture applications, drill 1/4 inch diameter holes into the bottom of the snap-in J trim after installing it on the bottom of the wall to ensure drainage. The snap-in J-trim must be fully assembled before drilling holes. Holes should be placed 16 inches apart. Alternatively, you can run a bead of silicone after the snap-in J-trim is assembled along the seam of the front-facing edge of the trim. For a more complete waterproof seal, apply a bead of silicone along the channel of any trim pieces being used on the top or sides of walls prior to installing the panels. Snap-in H-trim. Snap-in H-trim is used for panel joints and product transitions. It is compatible with Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard, Trusscore SlatWall, and Ribcore, and is designed in a convenient two-piece format that snaps together for ease of installation. Here are some examples of where to use Snap-in H-trim. When using two panel lengths to achieve the desired height or length, or when making product transitions, such as when transitioning from SlatWall to Wall&CeilingBoard. Wall&CeilingBoard and SlatWall integrate seamlessly with each other when SlatWall is installed above Wall&CeilingBoard, so no trim is needed here. However, when transitioning to Wall&CeilingBoard on the sides or above SlatWall, a snap-in H-trim piece is required. Installation of snap-in H-trim is easy with the two-piece format, allowing you to see exactly where to place the trim. Wherever you are transitioning from one panel to another, place the universal base along the end of your panels. When installing the universal base vertically on studs, align the screw flange with the edge of the stud. This will allow you to fasten panels on both sides while still maintaining the 1/4 inch spacing for expansion and contraction. Pro tip: fasten the universal base only at the ends to hold it in place. You can fasten the remainder of the universal base and the overlapping panels using just one screw at each location. When finished installing the panels, align the teeth on the snap-in H-trim with the channel on the universal base and press to snap in to cover any gaps in fasteners. Snap-in Inside Corner Cove Trim. Our Cove-style inside corner snap-in trim is a clean and stylish option to complete the inside corners of your project. Snap-in Inside Corner Cove is compatible with Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard, Trusscore SlatWall, and Ribcore by Trusscore. As the name suggests, use this trim for inside corners for both wall-to-wall and wall-to-ceiling finishes. A nice feature of the snap-in Inside Corner Cove trim is that it can accommodate two panels, meaning you only need to use one trim piece to finish inside corners. Start by installing panels for one wall or ceiling to the end where you reach the corner. Place the universal base against the opposite wall with no panels, and ensure it's tight to the panels you just installed, and the screw flange is pointing away from the adjacent wall. Fasten the universal base to the wall with screws through the screw flange. Continue installing panels, and when you're finished, align the teeth of the snap-in Inside Corner Cove trim with the channel of the universal base and press together until tight to the panels to finish your corner. For three-way corner intersections, as mentioned earlier, snap-in Inside Corner Cove trim can make this transition easier by only requiring one trim piece on the corners instead of two. However, as mentioned with the snap-in J-trim, it is not recommended to miter any of the trim pieces where the three-way intersection meets. Instead, install two snap-in J-trim pieces along the ceiling to intersect in the corner. Then install a snap-in Inside Corner Cove trim from floor to ceiling to complete the corner. Outside Corner Rounded. Outside corner rounded trim is designed to form smooth, bull-nosed outside corners for applications that require a softer touch. Outside corner trim is compatible with Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard only. Use this trim on any outside corner of a wall where two Wall&CeilingBoard panels meet to create a rounded corner. Since this trim piece has two channels on either side of the corner, which will accept the two panels meeting to form the outside corner, it should be installed before the panels. Simply place the square corner side of the trim against the outside corner of the wall and fasten with screws on both walls through the screw flange. The channels on the outside corner rounded trim are perpendicular to each other, allowing you to insert panels on both walls to finish your corner. Outside corners are a standard for almost any wall installation, which is why we also have a flat outside corner option to neatly complete any wall. This outside corner trim provides a square corner finish and is available in 2 different variations. The small version is 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch, while the large version is a 2 inch by 2 inch corner. This trim is compatible with Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard and Trusscore SlatWall. The main use for outside corner trim is of course for outside corners, but can also be used to trim windows that may have a sill. Unlike the outside corner rounded trim, this outside corner trim does not have any channels to accept panels, so it should be installed after the panels using silicone adhesive. Install the wall panels to the edge of the outside corner on both walls. Run a bead of silicone adhesive on the very edge of the surface of the panel, but not on the tongue or groove, along the entire height or length of both walls. Align the corner of the outside corner trim with the corner of the wall so it is evenly spaced on both sides, and firmly apply pressure where the silicone adhesive was applied. Here's another pro tip. Use painter's tape to hold the outside corner trim against the wall while the silicone cures to ensure a strong bond. Base trim. A trim piece that can be used to address the transition between wall panels and a concrete floor of a room. Base trim is compatible with Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard and Ribcore. As shown, use this trim for bottom wall transitions, especially those with a concrete floor. Another great use for base trim is in wet applications. The base trim can be used at the bottom of walls to act as a drip edge as water flows down to the base and away from the wall. To install base trim, before installing any panels, place the long straight edge against the wall with the small corner edge facing the floor. Fasten to the wall with screws through the screw flange. Install panels normally with the bottom edge of each panel extended to the lip of the base trim. Run a bead of silicone along the bottom of the panels for a more finished look and to ensure water does not get behind the panels at the base. Trusscore SlatWall Top Cap. Next is a specialized trim piece only used with Trusscore SlatWall. The SlatWall Top Cap provides a clean finish to the top of a SlatWall panel assembly. This prevents dust and dirt from accumulating behind your SlatWall panels. Just like our other trim options, SlatWall Top Cap is available in white and gray, but is only 8 feet long instead of 10 feet. This allows the trim to match the SlatWall panels it's covering. Only use SlatWall Top Cap when the top of your SlatWall assembly doesn't directly transition to Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard. If you plan on installing wall and ceiling board above your SlatWall panels, a top cap is not needed, as you will use a snap-in H-trim to make the transition. A good example of when to use SlatWall Top Cap is when you are only using SlatWall and installing it on top of an existing material, such as drywall. The sides and bottom of the SlatWall assembly will be finished using snap-in J-trim. But the top of the assembly can be finished using the SlatWall Top Cap for a clean look. Installing SlatWall Top Cap is likely the easiest of all Trusscore trims, since it does not require any screws or adhesives to install. Simply place the top lip of the SlatWall Top Cap into the groove built into the top of the uppermost SlatWall panel. Then snap the bottom lip of the SlatWall Top Cap into the SlatWall panel as shown. F-trim. Used in very niche applications, F-trim is designed for Trusscore Wall&CeilingBoard applications that include soffit or bulkheads. For ribcore applications, F-trim will complete your corners. F-trim is available in a 1/2 or 3/4 inch profile in white and a 1/2 profile only in gray. The best use of F-trim is when you need to address soffit or bulkhead transitions, as the design of the F-trim allows it to be affixed to the wall and the perpendicular channel will accept the wall and ceiling board panel. F-trim is also the standard trim piece used for finishing inside and outside corners in ribcore applications. To install F-trim, place the long edge of the trim against the wall so the channel is at the bottom and facing away from the wall. Fasten to the wall through the screw flange. Place a second F-trim on the opposing wall at the same height as the first F-trim. The channels of each F-trim piece will now be facing each other, and a wall and ceiling board panel can now be installed between the two F-trim pieces to complete the installation. 45-degree H channel. Our final trim piece is another specialized option. 45-degree H channel is perfect for instances where two walls or ceilings come together at an angle, allowing to adequately cover the transition between panels. 45-degree H channel is compatible with Trusscore wall and ceiling board only. Use this trim for angled wall-to-wall, wall-to-ceiling, or ceiling-to-ceiling transitions, such as a peak ceiling. Much like the rounded outside corner trim, the 45-degree H channel trim, that's two channels to accept two panels to form the angled corner. Because of this, the 45-degree H channel trim should be installed before the panels. Place the long edge of the trim piece against the wall or ceiling and fasten with screws through the screw flange. Enter panels into the opposing channels to finish the angled corner. Thanks for watching this video on when and where to use Trusscore trims and how to install them. For more information on our trim options, visit trusscore.com/trims.